Welcome to Sound Values, powered in part by LSA Burger and Classic of Denton. The views and opinions expressed by the show hosts and their guests are those of the show host and guests, and not necessarily those of the sponsors, DentonRadio.com, or the Denton Convention and Visitors Bureau. For more information, visit the Policies and Procedures page at DentonRadio.com.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to DentonRadio.com. Tonight, we are broadcasting out of the beautiful Discover Denton Welcome Center on the ever-lively Denton Square. My name is Kind Beats. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Over the years on this program, we've had musicians, we've had booking agents, we've had guys who've run sound, who've run lights, we've had tour managers, pretty much every aspect of the music industry, but there's one person that I left out, and that's my bad. I have to apologize. That's the photographers, the people who capture us, the people who make us look cool. If you've ever changed your Facebook profile picture as a musician, which I know most of us have, you have people like the man James Coffman right here to thank. How you doing tonight, man?
Doing good, dude.
All right. So, James, you are a concert photographer, a show photographer. You could call this a passion, something that you wanted to get into for a long time. And a lot of people who want to get into the entertainment industry, any kind of facet of it, even if you want to work behind the scenes, running lights or stage managing, things like that, you always feel like, you just have the right connections. You have to have the right connections. You have to know the right people. But a lot of that comes through hard work and perseverance of the things that get in your way.
Right.
So that's what we're going to talk about here tonight. That was something, you're friends of Joe Higginbotham, a regular on the show, and we want to discuss what it takes to get into doing concert photography, and hopefully that'll help answer some questions out there. If you want to get into photography, you're not really sure where do I start, even what gear do you need, this man's going to answer our questions tonight, so I'm excited about it. So let's kind of just jump right into it, man. We talked a little bit before the show, but I liked how you were like, you held yourself back saying too much, because then it's just me asking you the same questions 4 or 5 times over and over. But let's kind of start from the beginning, man. Photography is an interesting art. I grew up with photos in my house, Ansel Adams, things of that nature all over the place. And I've always been fascinated by cameras in general, just the fact that we click and that moment's captured right there. What was it about photography that got you interested in it from the beginning?
So I went to UNT.
Okay.
I got my degree in film, and I started a minor in photography, and then I realized I don't need to pay for classes for something I feel like I can just be good at, just playing around.
Okay.
So I got a camera my senior year, just like, starter Canon T4i.
Okay.
And, I was like, I already do video stuff, and that's what my degree is going to be, but I was like, why can't I not just start dabbling in photography? And so I started doing some things, didn't really find what I really enjoyed until, because I'm a music person, but like I never really got that opportunity to go out and use my camera at a show.
Yeah.
My buddy, Joe Higginbotham, and fraternity brother, we, good friends when he first came through, and he started playing some shows, and I think I may have asked him if I could come take some photos, or he asked me to come take some photos, and I went out to a few shows, and Backyard on Bell were a good number of the shows I went to.
Yeah.
I just like, man, like these are actually not too bad. Like this is cool. So I started shooting at his shows, and then someone saw that, who was another fraternity brother who was in the band Thrill Bill. He was like, hey, you want to come shoot some photos at this house show? I was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, man, these aren't that bad. And so I was like, okay, I think I can make something out of this. And so one of the shows, that I went to as a kid was Warped Tour.
Okay.
And,
yes,
I think it was probably my sophomore year in college I went, and we were at the front of the crowd for a band called Asking Alexandria. And there's this guy filming and taking photos or filming, one of the two, at the front, and I was asking him, like, hey, how did you get into this? How did you end up over here? And he was just like, well, one, do you have a business card? And I said, no. He's like, well, first step, you need to get a business card.
Exactly, right there.
And I was like, all right, so I need to start taking myself a little bit more serious. And then from there, I started thinking about it. Literally that next week, I went home and I designed business cards, got them printed, printed like 1,000 of them. Probably didn't need that many, but I was excited to get them out.
It's almost kind of like you decided, I'm a concert photographer right now. Now I have. And now I am. That's what I'm going to do. And so you went and you printed. It was just about you telling yourself, this is what I want to do and this is what I'm going to do. And then making it real. Those business cards made it real in a way. Yeah. Very cool.
And so I just started like finding opportunities and to go shoot, whether it was Shootin' Joe or just some other local bands in the area. And then something really cool happened. And I had met someone in college who was mutual friends with a guy named Hunter.
Okay.
And his name was Hunter Garrett. And he helped put on South by So What back in the day with Mike Zimmer. And they were getting ready to, get the festival going one fall or one spring, whichever one it was. I think it was in 2017 spring. And I was talking with a buddy of mine because they're about to share a documentary or the documentary to promote the tour. And I was like, I want to go to that. That'd be cool. Go watch the documentary and then, buy tickets to go to the show, whatever, like see what happens.
Yeah.
So I went by myself. I'm someone that just likes to do things by myself. And so I was like, I'm going to go. And so it was in Dallas in Deep Ellum. And I believe it was Deep Ellum. I just went. And then as I was walking in, met some dudes that were also photographers and enjoyed the music, was going to the show, and then walked in and just started introducing myself to people and meeting people that were going to be at the show, or I don't know if they were working I had no idea.
Yeah.
I was just introducing myself to people. And I knew Hunter was going to be there because he was the one that helped put the documentary together. And so I really wanted to introduce myself since we had mutual friends.
Yeah.
And I was at the bar just grabbing a drink, and lo and behold, Hunter walks up to my left.
Made it easy.
And I was like, oh. And so I was like, now's my time to introduce myself. So I did. And I was like, hey, you know my buddy Austin, don't you? And he was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, I'm James. I'm a film student at UNT. And he's like, oh, that's cool. And then from there, I was like, I'm really excited to see the documentary. And, that was kind of it.
Yeah.
And so we went out, documentary showed. It was awesome. And I was like, that was cool. At the end, I walked up to say, adios to Hunter and say how great of a documentary it was, because I was a documentary film focus when I was in school, so I appreciated it. And he was like, yeah man, thanks, no problem. And then someone was standing with him and he was like, hey, are you shooting the show tomorrow or this weekend? And I was like, no, I don't believe so. And Hunter was like, well, you want to? And I was like, yes.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yes. And then I was just like, whoa. I was like on an all-time high at that point.
Yeah.
And I, got home. I was excited. I got 2-day pass to shoot. And from there, got to South by So What. Or I think it was, they were naming it So What at that point.
Yeah.
And then when I walked in, I met 3 more photographers. One, his name's Robbie Clark. Really awesome dude. I shoot with him at shows all the time. I'll see him.
Nice.
Justice Dodson was another one. Zach Burns and Kurt Lunsford. These were 4 guys that I met that had been doing concert photography for a while. And I was like, man, these guys are good. I'm nowhere near them. They all know each other. I'm just kind of this guy that's there shooting. And as the days progressed, I got to know them more, and they're really cool. And they taught me some things, and just watching their portfolios get bigger and watching their progress. It's a motivation for me to be like, I just want to get better. I want to shoot bigger shows. And, So What was a huge stepping stone for me. And it really just came down to in a way being at the right place at the right time, but I could have not gone to the documentary filmmaking.
Exactly. So, one of my favorite producers, and this is probably an old saying, but the first time I heard it was luck is preparation versus opportunity. Preparation meets opportunity. So yeah, you were in a way lucky that you went to the show, but you had in your mind that you wanted to do something. You'd prepared yourself to go to this, and then when Hunter walked up, you took the opportunity to talk to him.
Yeah.
Some people wouldn't take that opportunity. They'd feel awkward. Oh man, this is the right time. But you said this is it. You have to do this now.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you also had like kind of a good conversation as far as like when you're first meeting somebody. And my buddy Pudge was in here earlier, and we said, one of the most there were some guys last night at a show that we did, and they were like, how do you do this? How do you do this? And one of the most important things was just being a nice person, being genuine, and so like I said, you had a good conversation with this person. You weren't pushy. You said, thank you for doing this. I enjoyed this. I did this. You had a good, real conversation. And people in the music industry, that is rare for realness. You can have a lot of if you will.
Right.
A lot of fluff and stuff, but when you can feel it when somebody's really passionate about something. Those two guys I talked to last night, they were passionate. They're like, we want to do this. We want to get on the mic right now.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, we'll just come out. And that's what I mean is when people do that, or today there was a kid who messaged me last night who was just at the show, and I grabbed my phone number and he messaged me today and asked me, hey, how do I get to play? How do I do that? So by doing that, some people won't reach out, but if you limit yourself, you'll never know your potential, so I applaud you for taking that opportunity. That's what I mean is when you printed those business cards, you made that decision. This is what I'm going to do. And so then you get to meet these guys, Robbie Clark, Justice, Zach Burns. I missed the very last person.
Kurt Lunsford.
Yeah, Kurt Lunsford. And you kind of start to learn from these guys, but where do things start to go from here? Because even as we saw, like some of the photography that was looking on your website, man, those are highly professional. They look great. So did they always look like that, or do you look at or do you even look at those now, or like the ones on your Instagram, and you're like, oh man, the stuff on my Instagram is actually better than some of these?
So what was crazy about that week of So What was meeting those guys, shooting So What, shooting bands that I grew up listening to. It was sick. It was awesome. That following weekend, I'm like waking up on like a Saturday morning, and we have a group chat, me and those guys, and Robbie put in, he's like, hey, I got an extra ticket to Edgefest. Does anybody want it? And I was like, yeah, I'll take it.
Nice.
Blink-182 is gonna be there. Like,
you can't pass that.
Like
up.
I'm not gonna pass it up. And like in the back of my mind, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna bring my camera.
There you go.
I'm just gonna bring it. There's no telling what's gonna happen. I'm just gonna have it in my truck if something happens.
Yeah, you never know.
So I show up. I get the ticket from Robbie. He's shooting. Like he's shooting the whole show, and I'm down there talking with him as he's getting ready to shoot a band, and our other buddy Zach Burns was there as well, shooting for a band.
Okay.
And he had to leave midday, and he had a photo pass and everything, and he was like, you want my photo pass?
Ooh.
Do you have your camera with you? And I was like, yes, I do.
Yes.
I do.
That's awesome.
That was like that week of just was a huge momentum for me to be like, I can do this. Like, I shot Blink-182, Chevelle, 311.
Oh man.
The Offspring.
The
like,
classics.
It was like, wow.
Yeah.
And like the crowd was huge. Like I was so stoked to be in that moment. And then from there I was like, okay, now I need to find more opportunities. So that big move that, got me just getting all these different shows was before this I traveled for my fraternity and did, consulting and stuff like that. And I met a bunch of people along the way. Well, through working some conferences, I met a guy named Matthew Belter. He's from out in LA, and he does some work for a publication called Honeypot Live.
Okay.
Or Honeypot Unlimited. And he's a concert photographer. He shot Metallica, big bands like that. And I was like, oh, I do that. I do concert photography too. Like, let me show you my stuff, and I really don't remember how we got in the conversation. I just think I was talking about something or whatever. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I showed him. He was like, dude, that's awesome. Have you ever thought about shooting for a publication? And I was like, no, what do I got to do? And so he was like, we'll connect, and then whatever. We talked, 3 weeks later, and he was like, this is what you got to do. Let's start doing some album reviews. Let's get your portfolio built up. Let's get you booked for some shows. And then from there, that's when it really took off.
Okay.
That online publication really just like having that credibility of like, they're putting in the request for me. All right, you want to shoot this show? We'll reach out to the press, whatever we need to be doing to get you on that show. And I was like, awesome, free shows and I get to shoot.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing that consistently for probably the last year and a half to 2 years since I met him.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it's just, if there's a show I want to shoot, I just put it in, and if we get lucky, great. You actually have some photos pulled up right now of the final cross-country Vans Warped Tour.
Nice.
And I was really excited to be able to shoot those bands out there and to experience the last Warped Tour. And
those are great, man.
So it's if I want to shoot it, I'll put in for it, and really the publication just kind of helped me push what I want to do with photography to the limits. And some of the ones recently being Angels and Airwaves is coming. They came back, and I got to shoot their first tour back. And another big one was Breaking Benjamin, who's a band I've been listening to for years, like since I was a kid. That was just awesome to be in front of them with the entire stadium crowd behind me.
Yeah, that's wild.
Like size of like the Dos Equis Pavilion. It was insane.
You're almost experiencing like what that's like to hear that many people singing all that stuff right back at them.
Yeah, it was crazy. I actually just got approved today.
Nice.
To shoot Sleeping with Sirens tomorrow night.
Oh, there you go.
So it's just it's crazy.
Constantly moving, dude.
I have 7 months of shows lined up right now that I put in requests for. Some being Halsey.
Okay.
I want to shoot Halsey.
Yeah.
Tame Impala.
Oh yeah.
Who else? I want to start seeing if I can get into some EDM shows and shoot those. I've never done that yet.
Yeah.
And so experimenting and seeing if I can get into some of those. And I think Alan Walker's coming up this week. So
yes, he is.
We'll
I tried to get onto that show, but he didn't need local support. And so that's actually a really good kind of segue right there that you mentioned that. Is you make this sound really simple, like the way you're just, and like you're very humble about it, but I have a full page plus more of what you're talking to me about here, and there's 6 names here, and so like I want people to keep track of the fact that he's remembering all of these people's names, which is really important in any type of industry. And as you get older, it becomes something that you notice of people when people remember your name.
Yeah.
The first time you meet them, when you meet them again, if they remember your name, you'll notice that. You'll be like, oh, that guy actually remembers that person remembered me.
Yeah.
That's really important, especially for making a positive, interaction with a person, your name,
Yeah.
So, and then, from there, you got this online publication. You started doing that, but it kind of seems like it was like you were kind of hanging out, and then
yeah, I was really coasting for a while.
Yeah, and so how do you keep yourself? And it seems like for these 1.5 years, 2 years, you've been on this good ride, man, just continuing to keep flying higher. How do you keep yourself from plateauing?
I have really awesome people like Matthew.
Okay.
Who got me onto the publication. He's always checking in with me, asking me how things are going. Hey, can we get you into a show? Like let's see what we can get. And it's the people that are motivating me to just keep going, because there are times like it's not just like I'm doing all this stuff. Like there are definitely lulls where it's like I haven't shot a show in a while, and it's like it's finding that motivation sometimes, because like I can show all day all the stuff I do and all that, and that's great, but sometimes I'll lose that motivation, and my girlfriend will tell you best that happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's really the people that keep me going. Like watching, like the Sleeping with Sirens show that I just got approved for today. I think I sent in the request like this weekend because I saw my buddy Robbie was shooting it, and I was like, dude, Sleeping with Sirens, like grew up listening to them too. Like, let's see if I can get in. Like that, like watching Robbie, Kurt, all those guys shoot and play these or shoot these shows, it's like that's motivation for me.
Yeah. How important would you? So you're in a group chat with these guys, right?
I think we still have it, but
well, I mean, me and my buddies are in the same thing with music that we make. So we send it back and forth to each other. Hey, there's this, and so like you might be unmotivated, and then you go and you like listen to something your friends doing or see them, and you're like, oh, okay. Now I'm inspired again. And it's immensely important the way that you're sending these requests in too. How does that work? How do you send in a request?
So the publication has like an online Excel sheet that will be like, hey, put in the shows and then the information about it, and then if you have a contact for the press.
So how do you go about finding the publication? Like, who do you know? How do you?
So just the internet.
Yeah?
Facebook is super helpful.
Okay.
It's typically in their about, but if they're a bigger band, like I think I have Maroon 5 on there.
Oh,
Like,
so the band itself will have like who their publication is depending on
Yeah.
how big of a band
yeah.
they are.
So I guess the start of it is like, all right, I'll see a show, for example, Sleeping with Sirens
Mm-hmm.
this week, and I was like, you know what? Robbie's shooting it. I'm gonna see if I can shoot it. I'll find the day of the tour, obviously, and then
Mm-hmm.
all right, who's their press contact, and they'll either be on like their Facebook about, or I have to do some digging on their website.
Okay, so it's a press contact.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
And then once I have that, I'll put it in the sheet, and then the editor will see that, and she'll put in the request for me and just let me know if it gets approved or not. And so, yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot of how, like, what I do is I'll go online and I'll look and I'll see who's coming to town in the next 5-6 months. And I'll check Lizard Lounge. I check Deep Ellum Art Co. I check a bunch of different places. I check the artists that I like. I check their tours, where they're going.
Yeah.
That was how I got to open. My two favorite producers are Bureaucratic and Flamingosis.
Okay.
And they were on a tour together. And I saw that Flamingosis had posted that he was going to be playing at Deep Ellum Art Co. I had a friend who would help run sound at Deep Ellum Art Co. I called him. I said, I'm playing this show.
Oh, nice.
How do, like, and he was like, you are? I was like, well, not yet, but how am I going to, like, how? And he was like, reach out to John LaRue or Mike Curvin. They do the booking, and John's one of the owners. Okay, cool. Message them. They're like, man, like we'd love to, but we need you to get the approval of Margin Walker, who booked the show. And I was like, all right. And they're like, here's that guy's. Here's
Yeah.
Gooch. Here he is, Guzman. They're like, here's his email. Email that guy. I send him some links. 5 sentences. Hi, my name is Kine Beats. I'm a local artist in Denton. I would like to open for Flamingosis and Bureaucratic. Here's my links. You know.
Yeah.
And then from there, he was like, okay, yeah, I'm cool with it, but I need you to talk to Flamingosis and Bureaucratic. And I was like, oh, man, okay. Like, I've talked to Aaron Flamingosis, the headliner, twice when I've gone to see his shows. So I kind of had that, in a way with him. And in a way, just like you, asking good questions, having good conversations,
Yeah.
treating that individual like a person, not like,
Right.
Because that can happen. And then Flamingosis messaged me and was like, hey, man. And I messaged a kid named Ian Ewing. And I was like, dude, I really want to open for this show, but I really don't know how to approach Bureaucratic or Flamingosis. He was like, oh, dude, I know Byro. Like, we're homies. Let me message him for you. And I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
So he messages him. Then he was like, yo, dude, just message him. I messaged Byro. Then I messaged Flamingosis. Next thing I know, I'm on stage playing the show for
Yeah.
2 of my favorite beat makers,
That's
hanging out
awesome.
with them, talking to them. Now still talking to these dudes to this day, you know. So that process, man, for you, the way that you've done it is a lot of self-motivation.
Yeah.
Is just being like, I'm going to do this. But then also having this group of people that you can see what they're doing to help get that fire back under during those
Right.
times of like, I just want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff. And so there's another question, man, is how do you kind of, also working a job, this isn't just your sole source of income. How do you balance the two? I mean, 2 jobs, a girlfriend, social life, how do you balance it all together?
Well, it's not that easy. Like I just put in for a bunch of shows this weekend just because it's like it just hasn't been on my mind, right? So it's like I'll get these bursts of, hey, I need to do this, or Matt will be like, hey, let's get you some shows, or whatever the case may be. But I mean, I use my calendar on my phone. We actually have like a physical calendar in our apartment that like, hey, this is happening, right? And I don't know, man. It can get pretty busy.
Yeah.
And I now work in Dallas, so it can be easier to get to shows.
Yeah, at least you can clock out and then clock right back in 30
Right.
minutes later.
Right. So I don't know, man. I manage it just by keeping a calendar, and having at a glance, where
Yeah.
I can access it easily.
They say that one of the best things for happiness in life is to find one of these passion projects, something that you love to do no matter what. Whether you make money on it or not. And then if you can find a way even to make a dime from it, it's like the greatest thing. And it just helps to make life that much sweeter,
Yeah.
And so, you've been doing this, going on 2 years now in the bigger scenes. What's some of your favorite bands that you've shot or most memorable shoots that you've taken part in?
The Blink-182 one was pretty sick. I'll be
Okay.
honest. That's like, and that was super early on. That was like a starstruck kind of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But once I really got into it, it's been cool, to like shoot bands like Breaking Benjamin. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know all the words to all of their songs. I'm like sitting there shooting and singing at the
Yeah.
same time. That one right there was probably one of my favorites for sure.
Nice.
And that was more recent. This past September, I shot them.
Yeah, that photo is great that you posted of that.
Thank you.
So-
Angels and Airways was also a good one.
I saw them on their first tour.
Really?
Yeah, with Taking Back Sunday and another band who I can't even remember the name of, but it was at Smirnoff. I could probably look it up and it would have the name of the bands, but
Yeah.
I saw them and I saw Tom DeLonge when he did Boxcar Racer as well, and they were on tour with The Used. That was a good time. That was my first concert that I ever went and
That's
saw.
awesome. Yeah.
So.
I actually just put in for The Used.
Nice. They're still doing it.
They're
I
coming
love
through.
it.
They're doing an anniversary tour, I think.
Yeah,
so,
man.
I would say top is probably Breaking Benjamin so far, and I mean Blink-182 is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been starstruck too, man. Like I said, just seeing them on stage was really cool. I never got to see Blink. I saw Angels and Airways and Boxcar, but I never got to see Blink. Who knows? They're getting back together apparently, so
Yeah.
maybe we'll see them again. It seems like, because I'm 32 now, and so it's almost like those guys who we all watched in high school. They're like, okay, our fans are old enough to where they've gone through this oh, I'm too cool to listen to that music I used to, and now they're ready to reminisce.
Yeah.
And remember the better times.
Right.
Nah, and those were confusing.
There's so many
times.
I feel like I've shot so many shows, and it's kind of hard to think because they're all very different in their own way. You have different environments sometimes where it's like you don't have a barrier between the crowd and the stage, and you're having to shoot crowd shots.
Yeah.
I shot a death metal show in Oakland, California. Matt was like, "Hey, we got this show. These guys are super cool with us. We've worked with them a lot. Like, would you be down to shoot this show?" And it's like death metal. It's bands like Ghoul. I think Ghoul was headlining.
Yeah.
And they come out in costumes and they're spraying you with stuff. And it's and there's no barrier.
It's like a Guar type experience. Yeah.
There's no barrier. So I'm over here standing on chairs and couches and stuff like that, just trying to get shots. And they ended up being pretty decent. I was actually really proud of myself.
Yeah,
I was like,
nice.
That was not a great experience, but it was something that I know I don't ever really want to do again.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I did because it was very interesting.
Yeah.
So it's always different environments. Festivals are different than smaller shows, and stadium shows are different than just regular.
And there's almost
4,
not
5,
like a
6
favorite.
bands.
It's just as long as I've got my camera and I'm there, and nobody's destroying it, then we're cool. Okay, so we started off with the number one thing to do was to have business cards.
Yes.
So if we had to think of the number 2 thing to do, at this point it kind of seems like establish friends or friends who do similar, friends who do similar, have influence, have somebody else to inspire you. But what would you? That's what I kind of got. But what do you think is the number 2 thing besides the business cards?
I would say practice.
Practice.
So,
there.
working with having Joe, there to shoot. I was like, let me come shoot. He's like, yeah, sure, for sure. Why not? So practice shooting your friends. That was something that I just started out doing, and because you find your look, your eye for it, and then you kind of start expanding on that. And I will say you don't have to have the best gear in the world.
Okay.
I've been shooting on my T4i, which is a entry-level camera forever, and I'm producing those photos.
Yeah.
So there is an aspect of editing for sure.
Yes, yeah, for sure. As we all know, if any of us have Instagram, we all know that photo didn't look that good when you took it. All right, trust me.
It's having the software. I use the Adobe Suite.
Okay.
Investing in yourself. Investing in.
And what's great about Adobe too is you can pay monthly for it too. Well, that's what's so great about a lot of these big companies is they're realizing that a lot of this stuff is now individualized. It's not just universities or large companies that are buying licenses.
Yeah.
They're like, we're kind of losing money because everybody's pirating these stuff. So why don't we just sell it for $10 a month?
Yeah.
Or
and
$20
if you're
a month is what I have Adobe for.
If
the
you have,
Premiere.
if you have student, if you're a student, you can get it for half off.
Yeah. Same with Ableton. You can get Ableton Live Suite for $330, and it's a $900 program.
Yeah.
But hey, since you talk gear, I have to bust something out here. All right.
Okay.
I brought a few things. Okay. So recently, going to shows and stuff. I was like, man, I really want a camera. I'm not a good photographer. I always loved video work. I made student films in high school. But the thing is, man, I don't know what 90% of the buttons on this thing does now. But I do want to show you something else. So this is my grandfather's camera right here.
That's awesome.
This is a Minolta. It's dusty, so be careful. But this is the original bag that he had too. So my photos were taken on this thing at the zoo. Look at this. Kids wouldn't even know. They'd think this is some kind of like,
Just so
imagine
everyone can see
carrying that around, you know. But when
Dang.
I lived in Wyoming, I used to see guys with lenses that were comically big.
Yeah.
And I worked with a guy, his name was Jim Bathurst, and he used to laugh. Now, the way that Jim made his money was he was one of the first photographers in the country to start doing strictly digital. He only did digital photography. That's what he invested in. And he was like, it was amazing because he was like, well, all these other guys, it took them a long time. I could crank out shots like it was
Right.
nothing.
Yeah.
That's how he eventually made his money and retired, and he was a boat captain in Wyoming. So that's what my grandpa has. Now, this is what I have now.
Okay.
Just a Lumix. I picked it up from a buddy. He was like, dude, it's pretty good for just like this and that. I've used it for all kinds of stuff. Just shooting, having fun, and
Yeah.
having something to do more at a show. Also,
Yeah.
just expanding my creativity as well beyond making music, seeing what it's like on the other side, and learning stuff. So there's some things on this that I have no idea what they mean, and I'm going to see if you can clarify. So
Okay.
there's this button on the back, or this right here, AFC, AFF, AFC, and MF. I have no clue what that stuff means.
All right. So I'm gonna assume
Okay.
AFS is like autofocus sensor,
Okay.
or maybe the S stands for something else. I could be
Yeah.
wrong.
AF
'Cause-
is like autofocus,
yeah,
basically.
AF is autofocus.
Okay.
For sure. So the S, the F, and the C, I'm not exactly sure. It might be like sport.
Oh,
It might
okay,
be,
yeah.
Something else.
Something specific to the camera, just like
Yeah.
icons can be different.
And then this MF is manual focus.
Okay.
So that's when, if you have that triggered, then you can actually use this
Yeah,
focus.
you can
by
do those
itself.
kind of shots. Don't worry, we'll make that go away.
You can
I don't know where that came from, guys. I'm
manually
sorry.
focus that if it's on MF.
Okay, and so that's kind of how you. Okay, that's cool because that's what I mean. Is I was like, man, how do I get an automatic? How do I blur it and then get it not clear? You know, and so. I literally walked in. I told Jake, I said, I bought this camera. I don't know what 90% of it does. I know that the red button records. I don't know what most of the icons mean on it. I was like, but I've just been having fun with it. And I'm going to have a photographer here tonight. So I'm
Great.
going to pick this guy's brain. So thank you. Now I've solved
No,
it.
this is an awesome camera.
But yeah, it's just cool to see like the difference too is like, this normally pops up and that's the flash. This was the flash that was being used in, 1983, so two very different looking styles and just like, it's a film, you know? So I've never taken a picture on it. It was what I got whenever he passed away. And I was like, cool. My mom was like, do you want the camera? I was like, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I have a film camera at home, and I've taken some photos on it. Do I know if they're good? Nope. But
check it out. I still have
We'll see what
have the
happens.
original manuals.
oh, that's awesome.
I know. I was like, man.
Now that's graphic design right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Layering. I know. Yeah. I was like, man, Grandpa, you really kept this stuff ridiculously organized to have that all for that many years. I mean, he has all like the lens here. Yeah. X700 Minolta.
That's great.
Yeah. Even the picture, it just, you can tell like when this was made. This swimsuit, I know, just flipping the hair back. It's like, look at the crystal clarity of it all.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great, man. Yeah, I was like, man, I'm talking to a photographer. I got to bring this stuff up
That's
here.
really cool. Thanks for bringing that.
Yeah, and I was last night, I like shot some stuff with it and I sent it to my buddy and it shoots in 4K, which is what I really
Which is great.
what I wanted it for too is to shoot videos of when I went to shows because I wanted to put show compilation videos together for when we did
Right.
things. And also when I went to businesses, I could be like, hey, I made a compilation and it has your
Yeah.
business in it and all this stuff. It's like, oh, cool. You should come play here again. Kind of another move. So yeah, I was like, I got to bring that so I can find out what these mean right here.
I'm glad I
But
could
now I
clarify
know,
that
dude.
for
And
you.
yeah, I'm super excited now. I'm like, yo, manual focus, guys. So this is an exciting moment. See, this is why you do the interviews. So you can ask questions and learn things. All right. So, man, now that, we've covered that basis right there, I swear I'm going to get this thing zipped back up before we start talking again.
No, you're good.
Anyways. So what do you have Sleeping with Sirens coming up tomorrow. And is there one that you've kind of like, you've submitted for that you're really hoping you get right now?
I'm trying to see. I just did it this weekend. I did some shots in the dark, like Tame Impala. I know a lot of people like them.
Yeah. Dude,
Hall-
if you get Tame Impala, that'll be great to shoot.
Yeah.
Because they were awesome at Bonnaroo when I saw them, and to shoot that would be pretty sweet.
Halsey would be really cool. I really like Halsey.
Yeah, she came on stage when I saw. Oh man, the EDM dudes that she did that track with. I can't remember their names right now.
Chainsmokers?
Thank you. Yeah. I kept wanting to say Cold War Kids for some
Closer?
reason. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I listened to that song
Closer,
on repeat when it came out. I don't know even how many times.
A lot of us did. Even if we were like, I don't like that song. We were driving home in your car. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, I know. I remember I read this like satirical article that was like, it was ripping on the Chainsmokers. It was like the Chainsmokers are everything you love and hate about EDM, and it was pretty great.
The comparison to Nickelback was really funny too. My buddy, he was like, I learned all the words to Closer from your Snapchat.
That's awesome. Yeah, Halsey, Tame Impala, those would be some pretty sweet shows, man. That would be great. So, all right. So our number 2, we have business cards and then practice. Shooting your friends, things of that nature. What do you think is that third important thing for somebody who wants to get into this business to know?
I think we kind of talked about it earlier. You got to be able to just get yourself out there and into the industry, I guess. Network,
yeah,
for sure, because you don't know who you're going to meet that does something that could help you get to that next. You
can almost say bring your camera everywhere you go.
Really though, you never know. Always be prepared. That's probably a good one to put down.
Yep.
I would say don't go over the top on equipment for sure. And some people go different routes with it. I obviously went the publication route, so that definitely helps out a lot.
So what are those different routes? Publications? What are some of the other ones that people do?
My buddy Robbie, he actually reaches out to the bands directly.
Okay.
And that's how he gets a lot of the shows he shoots. But he's a phenomenal photographer, and his work shows, right? That he can capture some really great things. Same with my other buddies, right? But I went that route with the publication. He kind of just really just built that portfolio and really works hard on his craft, and he can reach out to the bands and he'll get shows and he'll just show up, right? Yeah. So I don't know which way is best for anyone, but if you have ties to a publication, radio stations, I did find out, have their own photographers that they send to big shows. When I shot
newspapers, anything. Yeah.
When I shot Breaking Benjamin, everyone that was shooting there all came from like a radio channel or TV channel or radio show or whatever.
Nice. Okay.
For like the actual radio company. And I was like the only one there for like a publication, and I was like, and they have these awesome lenses and crazy like gear, and I'm just like, man, like I'm over here, like I got my stuff.
Yeah.
So publication's a great route. Maybe a news station or local radio station is a good route to go to.
You reach out to Kuzu.
Kuzu's
in town. Yeah.
And they can get you credentials to shoot some shows in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Every so often you'll have a band come through Denton where it's like, go shoot them, right?
Yeah.
If you can.
So start local. I mean, like you said, start with your friends. Start building that portfolio. Use that as a way. Like when you have, it's almost even in like business. Like even when you're in sales, what's your reason for being here? Why did you walk in to sell me this right now? So when you send those emails to these people you name, or like Robbie Clark or Hunter, any of those guys, you've got something to show them. Hey, here's what I've done. What do you think? And you're hoping that they say, this is great, let me get you some more work.
Right.
But you kind of mentioned like how Robbie captures these great moments, and he's a great photographer and he does this. What do you mean by great moments, and how are those things captured in photography?
Man, I don't know. Everyone's different in what they do, right? Like he'll see something that I don't see, because it's happening so quickly, right? You need to be able to think quick. You only typically get the first 3 songs of a show, of a band. So you got to be able to just know what you're doing with your camera. Just you're kind of on autopilot, trying to find that good shot. Use the lights, right? Typically it's no flash, and so you have to work the lights, and that's what gets you those shots that look great.
Yeah.
And then it's everyone has their own eye for it, right? Like I'll see things that maybe Robbie won't, and vice versa. So I guess everyone's definition of great,
Yeah.
is probably different.
You're just
but
a nice guy. You just compliment.
I don't know, man. These guys are great, and they're literally my inspiration.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Absolutely, man.
it's just one of those.
Dude, I gas my homies up more than anybody else. Like, dude, I am like even right now. Right now, last week, every day I shared a song of my homie Pudge, who is just up here. Listen to this.
Yeah.
Last night when we did a show down in the J&J's basement, a lot of people came out for it. We were super hyped. A record company called Dead Gorgeous Records, who specializes like chill hop, lo-fi, chill wave. They came out and helped me put it on. And so I got on the microphone. I said, if you have a cell phone, get it out of your pocket right now. Go to Spotify, type in Dead Gorgeous Records, click the follow button.
Yeah.
So yeah, you gotta have those people to inspire you and inspire them, help them if you can, share their photos, share the music. All it takes is a click, costs you literally nothing, and it can make all the difference in the world. Plus, it helps to build your contacts, supporting one another.
Yeah, and like I love watching them grow, and I mean they're like they motivate me.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to keep doing it and try to get on their level, and they're going to continue to progress. I would like to think I'm going to continue to progress.
So where are they at? Because I see your photos and I'm like, okay, so to me, you're telling me that they get better than those.
Oh yeah, man.
So how can you improve? I guess is the question. How do you feel you can improve on your own craft? Because I think that's important too, is to be able to self-reflect and say, okay, what can I do better next time or this?
And that's something I would say Matt talks to me a lot about. I'll shoot a show, we'll go through my photos, and he'll give me some I say critique, but some like encouragement of like, hey, maybe you can do better with this. And
positive feedback.
Yeah, because I mean, he's like, you got the eye, you got the frame, maybe working on this. And then I think my next step as a photographer is actually to upgrade my gear.
Okay.
I've had my same camera since I was a senior in college, and I graduated in 15.
Mm-hmm.
I think my next step is to refine my quality, is kind of invest in myself again, because I haven't invested in myself from a photography standpoint in a while, and I think it's due time for that.
Yeah, there you
but
go.
I got some other things in the plan financially that I got to work out before I do that.
Absolutely.
But life happens, right?
Yeah, my buddy Chris, I posted on Facebook. I was like, hey, I'm looking for a camera. I have no idea what I'm looking for. I don't need, I'm typing online camera. I'm like, I don't have 2,500. I don't have 1,200. And my buddy Chris reached out to me. He was like, dude, I was about to go pawn this camera. And so he let me pay him just, $100, $100, fun, and then done. But he threw in a bunch of lenses, lights, all kinds of stuff. My girlfriend uses the lights for her business that she does.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, man, I think like even if photography can also be like music as well, where it can be something that you love, but then if you love it long enough, you're gonna actually get good at it.
Right, right.
All of a sudden one day you're gonna be like, wow, I'm actually not bad at this, and it's through that persistence and going and keeping working at it and working at it and working at it that all of a sudden one day you like the stuff that you're doing and everybody else does. You're like, all right, this feels cool.
Yeah, it's been really fun, and just to kind of see where I was 3 years ago, really kind of starting it to now, it's like, I don't know. It's fun. It keeps me busy. It's my, like you said, like passion project, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
I enjoy it. I love music, and if I get to go to shows for free and then also take photos, like I can't complain.
Yeah, man. I remember when people were like, guys were like, hey, if you wanna come play this show, and I was like, dude, I was already gonna come to the show, but now you're gonna pay me to play the show and hang out and give me 4 beer tickets. I'm there.
Yeah.
And
I will say something to note is, probably something to write down is don't expect to get paid.
Yeah. Okay. Dude. Yeah, absolutely.
Because when I first, I to be completely honest, have not been paid for any of the shows I've shot.
Yeah.
But I would say my payment is a ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
And there are people out there that do pay for photographers to come shoot their shows, and that's awesome. I mean, me personally, like, that'd be cool if that opportunity presented itself, but it doesn't bother me. You know, like, it's on my own dime. I drive out there. I do, it's all my
and
stuff,
as you build and create, things will happen. And that's what I mean is, a year and a half, 2 years, I always, you see people where it's like Harrison Ford didn't get his break till he was like 40, something like that. So you just keep doing it. Because that's what I mean, man, is you love it just because it is. It's just what you like. And that's when it's awesome, man. Is when it doesn't matter about the money. I was going to do this anyways.
Yeah.
And that's me too. It's like, dude, I'm going to go home and make music the rest of my life anyways.
Yeah.
So You know, if one day they're like, no more concerts,
Yeah.
you know, you're still going to go outside and take pictures of something.
Right.
You know,
right.
I guess I'll sit in my house and make music and nobody else will hear it.
Yeah, one of the highlights I don't think I mentioned was when band members share your photos.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's always a great feeling. That's a big motivation of like, man, he liked my photo, or even if they just like your photo.
Yeah.
It's a really good feeling. Just recently, like last week, Breaking Benjamin shared one of my photos on their Instagram, and I was just like, man. And they actually reached out to me beforehand and it was like, hey, can we get a link to your awesome photos? Like, we really love them, we want to share them and give you proper credit. And I was like, of course. Sent them it. They posted a photo and I was like, that's so cool. And then their press guy or manager was like, hey, if you ever need a ticket to a show or a photo, let me know. Just email me directly.
And that's what I mean,
and
man.
I was
It's
just
like, you know, when you
what?
say, you say you've only been doing this 2 years. I made beats for like 5 years before anybody ever was like, hey, here's a little bit of this right here. You're developing the connections to get there, man. It's only a matter of time. You've got Breaking Benjamin, you've got tour managers, you've got all these people who are talking about you. Eventually it's going to happen where all of a sudden somebody's going to message you and go, hey, we need some photos shot. Here's the budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
like, that's how I
that'd be
felt.
awesome.
You know? And just like you said, man, when I played that Bureaucratic Flamingosa show, they're like, there's no room on the budget. I said, I don't care. I don't care, dude. I want to play.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's about, you know?
Yeah.
And so I've always told that to people too. And they're like, hey, how do I play shows? I said, don't expect to get paid. You know, eventually, like, if you do a good job, they'll ask you to come back. Like, I remember the first time I opened for the Boombox, there wasn't a budget. The second time, there was, you know, it was like, hey, you played that first time, we want to have you back. And so by doing that and just being grateful for being there, people want you to come back because they like your energy, they like your vibes, they like the way you feel. I'm going to holler at you next time we do a show and you come
Dude,
shoot a show again, man. Yeah, that'd be awesome, you know? Yeah, we do a whole lot of wild stuff all the time, man. But man, this has been a really opening conversation for me, you know, and I don't know, I feel like now I need to message all these guys like, hey, I just want you to know that James gave you all tons of props. I'm gonna go to Honeypot and be like, look, man, you know, this dude was giving you all kinds of props. So, but man, it's just been really nice talking with you, man.
Dude.
Appreciate
Thank
you, man. Now, if people want to get in contact with you, they want to know where they can find your stuff, see your photography, where can they go do that?
So I have a website. It's jameskaufmanmedia.com. I try to keep it updated as much as I can. And then Instagram at James Coffman Media. And then I have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/James Coffman Media.
Nice.
So I try to keep it all in one thing.
Awesome.
And Instagram is the most up to date, and I just share that stuff to Facebook. But other than that, yeah, I mean, if you want to check it out, great, awesome. But I think I will say, like, if you have questions about, you know, we didn't dive into everything. I think
there's so much
that, you know, could have been talked about in an hour. But, you know, I'm always open to offering advice. And if anybody has any questions, that's really why I wanted to come on and just talk about it, because it doesn't have to be as hard as, you know, people make it out to be. It's, you know, it's all about you. Like, you make the decisions for what you want to do.
That can be very hard for people, is that it's all about me. Like, wait, I got to do it all? I didn't want to do it. I just thought James would show up and take care of it all for me. You know, that's what I think will be inspiring for people, is the way that guys like Robbie Clark and Justice Dodson and Zach Burns, the way they inspire you, Matthew Belter, the way that they inspire you is how you'll inspire people who see this interview. Go and see your photos. And look, if you need a photographer, you know, I mean, this guy's probably not even against the wedding circuit. I DJ weddings. It's a lot of fun. You know, if you need a photographer, you have a band, you need some shoots, you want your concert shot, you want a photo shoot, hit this man up right here. His stuff is fantastic. James, once again, man, it's been a pleasure talking with you.
So much.
I now know that it's manual focus on my camera because of you. Once again, y'all, tune in at next week. We've got Live Like Liam on the show. He's going to be doing a live performance right here on Sound Values. Y'all stick around for Ellie Bell and the Denton Vibe up next here on DentonRadio.com. I'll see you next week. Peace.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. We want to thank our partners and sponsors who made this show possible. And now stick around for a word from all of us here at Discover Denton. Do you love live music? If so, make Denton, Texas your next vacation. Find more information at discoverdenton.com.